This is what they call it. It's an MC407 chemical tanker. You don't have to worry about designations, but in regards to chemical hauling, it's the most common chemical tanker you'll see on the road. It's skinned, it's an internal with a heavy stainless steel barrel, but the skin on the outside covers a ribbed looking tanker truck because this is an insulated tanker truck. So a lot of those tankers that you'll see that are chemical, this is just a skin, very light skin here on the outside of the tanker, and the inside is a strong structural stainless steel. You'll also see stainless steel tankers or rubber line tankers. Those are the classic, the real heavy corrosives, and they're typically narrower, have the external rings. That's an MC412 tanker, and those are used again to haul even heavier and more corrosive chemicals that are even corrosive just like stainless steel. They actually have like a rubber liner. Some are even fiberglass today. Now this is a 3-compartment tanker versus a single bore or a 1-compartment tanker. And if you look here, you'll see 3 sets of placards. Just like a book, you go left to right. First placard would be front compartment, middle compartment, last compartment. When we come over here, I put in 3 fake placards for you, and I'll go over some of that with you and how the truck discharges versus some of the other tanker trucks you'll see. A fuel oil tanker, gasoline tanker is very similar to this. They discharge through the bottom, and they all have a series of internal valves and external valves. It's not uncommon to go down the road and see a series of placards like this on a tanker with the 3 ID numbers, okay? So obviously, again, while we're looking at this on the side versus the front, we now look at right compartment, central compartment, rear compartment. So that's how this is placarded from the sides. Front and back, you can't tell left. You got to go left to right like reading a book again. Now these tankers here typically are loaded through the top. So if there was an incident where you get called at a loading site, they're loading typically through the top. Sometimes they do load through the bottom, but more often than not, it's loaded above through the top. Now if you come over here, you'll see there's a series of discharge valves. These are the outlet valves that would be hooked up to a tank or however they're unloading at a facility. This unit here opens up what they call the internal valve. The reason there are internal valves on a tanker truck is if, say, a car comes and T-bones this unit, it could clip off one of these pipes underneath here. If it clips off one of those pipes, what's going to keep it from leaking out? So an internal valve, these are done with a hydraulic pressure, just like a jack on a pump, on when you're jacking up your car with a pump. Some are done with cables. Okay, this is done all with again, a hydraulic system. So you can pump it up, open it up. And I'm going to show you where the emergency shutoffs for these tankers are in a minute once we go around here. But again, internal valve, external valve. Now, one other thing too. Tanker trucks, when they're discharged, now you'll notice over here there are 2 different types of hazards. If it's corrosive, more often than not, the tank truck is discharged with air pressure. You actually put air pressure into the tank and they call it blowing off the load. It's typically done anywhere from about 12 to 15 pounds of air pressure. Flammables, you don't need to make a bomb. Flammables are only pumped off. They're either pumped off with a pump on the site or through a power takeoff pump on the truck. Air pressure can also be supplied through the air compressor on the truck or through an auxiliary PTO air compressor on the truck. Yes.
All right, another question on the internal valves. So the operator opens one of the 90-degree swing valves.
Right.
Pumps the valve open.
Right.
To discharge.
Right.
How does the valve close?
The valve closes basically the same way. Just like you got your jack, you turn it one way, and you pump up. You turn that little valve the other way, and it releases the hydraulic pressure in it, and it loads it down.
So if something happens to the operator and we want to close that valve, all we've got to do is turn.
I'll show you the if you can. The best way, I mean, obviously, is these big valves, real quick. But if there's a spill going on over here, say this hose ruptures over here, you're not going to come over here and worry about, gee, at 1805, that's phosphoric acid. Or that 1993, it's flammable. I don't want to take a shower in chemicals. And I'll show you where the shutoff is when we go around the tanker. If anybody wants to climb above to look inside or see how they're tied down, they're more than welcome to. I'll go up there with you. It's a series, basically they're like a bolt that's hinged, comes up, and there's like a flat nut that you basically, to secure them down, you hit with a rubber hammer and you tie them down, you know. It's up to you if you want to go up there and look around what's on the top. In case there was a rollover and you saw the truck weeping out of a manhole, you know, but they're supposed to be pretty well secured when you're going. Yes?
The 2,000, those are the gallons?
That's right. That was another thing I was going to go over. Give you an idea, like, okay, we got something leaking out of here. If they want to have an idea of the quantity, you can always use that number. You'll see them on gas trailers and everything else. You never fill 100%. You shut you off at about 90% capacity because of temperatures, things like that. The product could expand and things like that. So that gives them a little fluff factor when you fill a truck too. But they should never be filled over 90% capacity.
So is that number the 90% capacity?
No, that's the 100%.
That's the 100%.
This is a quote-unquote 6,500 gallon total capacity wagon. So.
Is it either full or empty, or do they go down the road different stops where it be like 1,000?
Yeah.
It's always full or empty?
It could be partial. In other words, like we haul stuff that weighs 13 pounds per gallon. Okay? You put 3,000 gallons in right away, you got 39,000 pounds. So you know you're going to get up to 44,000. So you got a little bit more than, you might have 3,200 gallons on this truck. So you put 1,600 in that compartment and 1,600 in that compartment, so you're not full even then. If you had a product that weighed 15 pounds per gallon, you're even less. So you can. What I'm just saying, if you were responding to a hazmat incident, use that as your maximum, but outside of that, it can be less, So this here has temperature gauges per unit. So actually, it's another thing to know, like, not only are we dealing with maybe a hazardous material, or even if it's non-hazardous, like paraffin wax wouldn't have probably have say hot, and that's it. You say, oh boy, how hot is it? So your temperature gauge is on the truck. This wagon is also, if you look up by the nose of the trailer, there's a series of valves there. We can apply heat to this truck, in-transit heat, running off the engine block, or you can bring it to a site. Say Rogers Corporation had a steam generator, and they can actually put steam through it to heat up the truck, to keep it warm so they can unload the truck too, quicker. So there are many, many different hazards associated with the chemicals besides the chemical hazard itself.
So every time they refill, do they wash out each compartment beforehand?
It
so
depends.
There's no mixed chemicals?
It depends. Now, say you got a wagon that's pretty much like bleach. People just dedicate that tank truck to haul bleach. they never wash it out in between, but maybe once every 8, 10, 20 haulings, depending on how often that, so they don't wash it out. They will not remove the placards if the truck has not been washed out. This wagon's been washed out, I got the wash slip with the truck. So I just put these in for demo purposes only. So these, I'll take these out when we're done. But if the truck has not been washed out, they consider it still a hazardous load.
I've seen a placard that says residual.
Right, that, they can do that, but you still gotta do the numbers.
That's in conjunction with.
Yeah. Yeah. So the reality is, almost everybody will just leave those numbers right on there till it gets to a washout station.
Are these sealed, 3 different sealed tanks or?
Yeah, they're 3, it's separated by a bulkhead wall.
Baffles or something?
No baffles. Because of the 3 compartments, there's no need for baffle.
Oh, yeah, 3 different.
Some of the single bore tankers will have a baffle to prevent that slosh, you know, when you go to stop the vehicle or when you go to start the vehicle. But this, because there are already compartment walls in there, it's not a major.
Separate real tanks.
Yeah.
Tanks.
Left to right, the placards, front, middle compartment, rear compartment. What you're looking at here is where air pressure would go in. Now all of a sudden you may say, oh my God, I got 14 pounds of air pressure going in this truck and I shut my internal valve off. Is that going to build up to 100 PSI?
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. No, because up on the top we refer to these vacuum and pressure breakers as a Christmas tree. Because in the old days there were multiple units and it looked like a Christmas tree. Today they have a single unit that does the vacuum and the pressure. The air pressure is set to kick off at 25 PSI, so you don't worry about this truck exploding. Okay? So in the event that you are blowing off a load with air pressure, in the event that you have to immediately shut off that internal valve, and you can't get to this unit here, don't worry about the air pressure blowing the truck up. It's gonna scare the hell out of you when that thing releases the air pressure up top. Because you're gonna say, oh my God, now what do I got? But don't worry about that. And they all get tested. If you look in the front of the truck, you'll see where it's been pressure checked, sight checked. They sonically check the thickness of the vehicle, they check the undercarriage, and all these other things. And all trucks have to be in a series of inspection. They're on a 1-year or a 5-year when it comes to thickness on a check for the DOT. So even those, like this tank is 20 years old, because they're like worth their weight in gold, you go through all these things. It's not like a cheap box truck. Front of the truck, or trailer, excuse me. Front of the trailer, driver's side, emergency shutoffs. This little unit here, all it is you pull it and it breaks away. That's all it is. On some trucks that are cable pump or cable openings of the internal valves, it's typically a lever on a little hinge. You slap it down and it releases all the pressure on the cables and the internal valves will close. All the internal valves, again, are all like a spring operated. So that's what closes the emergency valves off. So you're not near the side of the discharge. You're not near, hopefully, any of the real mess going on or anything like that. Most discharges on tanker trailers are either in the rear on a single compartment. If it's what they call a double conical, which is like pitched in the middle, it's a center discharge. 3 compartment tankers, 4 compartment tankers, 2 compartment tankers. 99.9% of them will be a center discharge. So most of your discharges, you'll see they're either going to be far away from this location. You know, gasoline tankers, curbside, Almost everything is done curbside today. There are very few of the old tankers that will discharge on the driver's side. And it's just, again, it's become more and more universal.